Yo,
Hi.
what is up, everyone? Welcome. It is a Tuesday. Feels kind of weird to be streaming today. T, a little bit, huh?
A little bit off schedule. Creatures of habit here over here.
Yeah, yeah. Lot. How was your day?
Fine.
It's weird.
Kind of crazy. Not crazy. A lot of paperwork, which somehow makes me even more tired, I feel like, than seeing kids. So.
Yeah, it's. On days that we stream, it really is like we don't really talk until we sit down in the chair.
Really, though.
It's odd. Hey, well, thank you, everyone, tuning in already. I am one half of the Voice of College Football. I'm Chad.
And I'm Tyranny, the other half.
And we, like I said, host the Voice of College Football usually on Mondays. Obviously, yesterday was a little bit of a audible because of the national championship game. But we are here now. And if you are a return watcher, thank you very much. We appreciate it. If you're new, like I said, we stream on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central. And we'll try to get some comments throughout the show. If you want to guarantee that we get your comment, you can always send a super chat if you would like. Don't feel obligated, but it does, help the channel and whatever, and it'll guarantee we answer it. Also, like and subscribe.
Yes.
And send a comment down in the comment section, just a quick one. Just say boomer, whatever you want, and then we'll ask you some questions later, and we'd like feedback there as well if you can. So did I hit everything for the first time, Bob?
I think so. I think we
us.
did.
Well, we got a few different things we're going to be talking about today. We got the college football playoff that wrapped up, and
No more football
No,
season for college anyways.
I know it's sad, isn't it? Golly, it's weird how it seems like it'll end, and then it's like you're kind of not ready for it, but it just seems like you're so ready for it to come back by the time you start seeing the commercials in the beginning of the year.
By like June especially, I'm like thirsty for football because softball's ended. I'm not a big baseball fan, like MLB anyways. So I feel like there's just nothing that I really support on.
Right, I'm the same.
So it's just kind of like, dang.
Nah, I hear you. Same. Jim Knowles, the rumors are heating up a little bit in ways that I don't think either of us saw, which is interesting, to say the least.
Right. Third topic is
the Xavier Lucas NIL contract. That's going to be interesting. The Wisconsin story, if you haven't been paying attention, interesting NIL, I think, repercussions personally. I know T has some opinions on it as well, just in general, in terms of just if you sign something, maybe, find ways to honor it or ways to phrase it in which it is, able to be enforced.
But we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. And then basketball and
Gymnastics.
Yes, sorry about that.
Not just the gym. If you're pumping iron, good for you. Happy New Year. Everybody's in the gym right now.
You sure I got
except
everything
for my
set
husband.
up? Wow. A little bit, wow.
He's been sleeping.
I have. I've been lazy, not good. It's been bad. Let's start. We'll say the Jim Knowles for the second one to let more people get into the show.
Yeah.
And into the viewership. National championship last night. Ohio State wins. First championship since 2014 when they won the inaugural
first one.
football playoff.
We were watching that in my dorm.
Beat Oregon 42-20. Zeke Elliott had like 250 yards rushing, 4 tuds.
Okay, now you're just
Cardell
showing
Jones
off.
was the quarterback.
Didn't remember all that. Just remember watching it in my dorm.
No, you did. What did you think about Ohio State? What did you think of the game?
It was a very strange game because I felt like I was very tired watching it. And I felt like at any moment I was like, I'm going to turn it off and just go to bed. I'm going to turn it off and go to bed. But I kept waiting for something to happen, which it did. I remember I think I was about to get to bed, actually, and I hear, no way that just happened.
Oh, yeah.
And I come sprinting back into the living room. It's like, what? He's like, Marcus Freeman just said, if we're going to stay in this game, we have to have a turnover. Of course, and then they got that fumble, but then nothing came of it. But that was kind of like hooked me back. I was just about to fall asleep, and I was hooked back in. But it ended up being more of a game than I thought. But at first, I really thought that Ohio State was about to run away with it, despite a fantastic opening drive by Notre Dame.
That opening drive reminded me, I don't know if people remember when the Patriots were undefeated and they played the New York Giants, that first Super Bowl with Eli Manning. That first drive when they had, they took like 9 minutes off the clock and scored, which is exactly what he wanted to do against that Tom Brady offense back in 2007, I think was the year. But the way they were able to like run the ball effectively, and I know that they were quarterback heavy. I was like, my thing was just I would have kept going with the quarterback run until they stopped it. especially whenever they showed that they were struggling to throw the ball well and to have any sort of other consistent offense, throughout. And you don't want to hurt, you don't want to kill your player early in the game or wear them out. But at some point, you got to keep doing things that are working. Right. And I guess it makes it tough because how much is the wear and tear and the fatigue going to start to be a negative for the offense. But
by the time they got down to, the goal line, essentially, he did look like he was about to pass out.
By the way, I was deep into like snacks with a Coke Zero, saying you got to run the ball more. So it's not like I'm
deep in the snacks.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, so I was walking on my walking pad watching the game.
You talk about a game changer in the Smith household right now. you can catch the Smiths doing two things. I'm doing lease reviews, looking at oil and gas leases. T is working and then coming home, and then she's walking miles.
Getting my steps in.
What was that movie by Reese Witherspoon, the one that didn't need to be made but was, and somehow it got awards? She's just walking on a trail.
What?
The trail, I think it might be called The Trail. I don't know. Some Reese Witherspoon movie. It was a ridiculous movie. But yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't Reese without her spoon?
That's fantastic. That's good work by you.
Different actress.
That's awesome.
No, I have no idea.
Without her spoon.
My problem was, not that I even watch a lot of TV to begin with, but during football season, on Saturdays, my booty is on the couch, just enjoying all the games if it's not an OU home game. And I was thinking, man, like, it would be so nice to have a walking pad in here, like a treadmill, essentially, because I don't want to go to the garage because I don't have cable in there, so I can't watch the games. And even if I just, at night, when I just wanted to relax and watch TV shows, I'm like, you know what, I can just get some steps in, burn some calories while we're here. So I worked in a skilled nursing facility, so productivity's in my head. So I'm being very productive.
Yeah.
Watching TV and walking, but I am walking a ton. I'll look down, I'm like, oh, I've been walking an hour.
I got one for my office. At the office, I have a little standing desk, and I have a little walking pad, too, and it's awesome. After lunch, a little 30-minute walk. You feel great.
I see that. That would be nice.
Yeah.
No, Zeno's the only one who doesn't like it because he's like, why aren't you sitting down with me? Why are you not cuddling me?
Zeno doesn't like anything that's not centered on him. He's a very selfish dog, we've come to know. Very selfish dog.
Don't you dare.
Well, the guy just thinks he thinks he needs all attention in the world at all times, which I think is,
He deserves all the attention.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, back to the college football playoff.
By the way, I don't know how Las Vegas does it. 8.5 point spread. Ohio State wins by 9. I mean, these people just don't. It's unbelievable. I think it's like that law of large numbers or the wisdom of large numbers where, like, whenever they do, like, guess how many gumdrops are in this machine. Like, the best way to do it is, and there was a video I watched on it, but this kid would win it every single time because he'd wait till like 60 people guessed, and then you add up all the numbers that have been guessed, and you divide it by how many guesses that have been made. Because on average, you're going to have X amount of people that have guessed way too many.
I thought it was like you picked like the 3 highest and the 3 lowest, and then add that up. And
this guy it may be another one, but in this one, he added up all the numbers, and then he divided it by the total amount of guesses that there were.
So you found the average.
Yeah, and the thinking is, you get as many people that guess too much, as many guessed over, and you kind of get in that little sweet spot, which is interesting. Because I don't know if that's how they do it. Like, I mean, there's just so many people that gamble whenever it's too high that it brings the line down to where it finds the perfect little spot. But, I mean, they kill it. Not all the time, obviously, but.
For a lot of, it is crazy how accurate it can be for sure.
Most of the time, for sure.
One thing that kind of baffled me in the game was when Notre Dame, everybody knew Notre Dame had to go for it, right? It was like a 4th down in the 3rd. It was pretty early, though. Mm-hmm. And they ran a fake punt. I didn't understand that personally. You put in a backup quarterback. It was like 4th and 2. I think either keep your offense out there, keep your QB1 out there, and make him make a play.
Right.
Because I feel like everybody knew. They had to go for it. So there's no point. There was no trickery with running a fake punt. So might as well just get your best offensive like play that you can to get 2 yards. Like, it just, I don't know. That was a weird call for me. They didn't get it. Guy dropped it. It wasn't a great pass, and then of course he dropped it. But I don't know. It just didn't seem. I don't know.
I kind of agree with you. If you're gonna go for it, put it in your best player's hands and let them get it for you.
Right? Because I feel like everyone. I mean, the announcers. I feel like we're saying you got to think it's a fake here, right?
Yeah.
And then it just seemed the energy. It wasn't a surprise. Like,
it wasn't. No.
It wasn't.
It was one of those, like, if you feel like everybody just had to know, like you're saying.
So, and like part of a fake punt working is the surprise aspect. So Yeah, I don't know.
I would have liked him just to have him go on the run, maybe a little rollout with a couple options of him to throw it or run it for the first. It wasn't a long. I think it was like 3 yards, 2 yards.
4th and 2.
2 yards. Yeah,
Up.
I that's what I would have. You were saying the same thing. It's what we would have liked to see, but hey,
We're not coaches.
obviously for Notre Dame to end up like they did after losing to NIU earlier in the season, an amazing job. I'm a big fan of Coach Freeman. I really like that guy. T's obviously a fan of him, but I think he's awesome. I really love his belief system. How he, kind of what he believes in terms of not even being a coach, but how he likes to raise his young men, as he calls it. His faith obviously is a big deal to me, and it's really cool to see younger guys that are leaders like that. Really take the role and perform like they have been, and like he did this year for sure. And I think we talked about this. I love the rise in faith, or the more faith's being more put on a pedestal nowadays. It seems like like Oklahoma is very big with the soul mission in their faith. You see it. Scott Van Pelt had a great monologue about faith after the game, and listen, I'm not one of those that thinks Jesus really cares about the outcome of a football game, but Jesus was talked about a lot during the lead up and during the game too, with all the Bible verses and whatnot that are on on everybody's stuff.
There are ways we get told we have special talents and strength that all get utilized. So in a way, why you might not care so much about the outcome.
Yeah, he'll use their abilities.
It is used. I mean, what happened when Tim Tebow put John 3:16 in the Natty years ago? Like millions of searches, like just kind of wild.
No, you're right. You're right, 100%.
But I definitely liked Marcus Freeman over Ryan Day.
Let's see if there's any.
But
questions.
As far as teams go, I don't naturally care for either Notre Dame or Ohio State.
True.
But
unfair. Just a couple of these. Fake punts are they are.
Fake punt.
Thanks, Jack.
I agree they are fun. The problem is, in that situation, everyone knew you were going to do it. So part of the fun is that it's a surprise, and no one was surprised.
Do you agree with the field goal decision? I did when I don't know. I did, I think, because it made it to where you didn't have to get 2-point conversions if you get stops again consecutively. The question is, do you think you have that many possessions left, even if you play well on defense? And that's just a risk you have to take. How long was the 4th down too? I don't think it was very short, was it?
No, it was literally like, I think they had to get to the goal line. It was
yeah,
like 8
so
yards
I think you have
longer.
to at least get the points, make it to where you don't have to go for 2 each time you score, and hopefully you get a turnover.
They had more chances after that. I mean, in theory, had they made that field goal, it seemed like they had 2 more opportunities to score, but
no, absolutely.
It's funny because he went up to line up to it, and I looked at Chad and go, it's close, but that's a weird angle. And about that time, you hear doink. I'm like,
You do.
I hate that for him. I hate any time a kicker misses. Like I feel for him because you can make 1 million in a row, but the one you miss usually is just it has like just such a big impact. But alas, I didn't have to be a kicker, so.
It is.
Anybody else have any thoughts on the game? From the comments?
Unless it's Texas, yeah. Well done. I love it. All right. Well, there has been some news and movement.
Sorry, my mouth was open. I was trying to read some comments to see if anybody had any. Okay, there we go. I like that comment by Caden. Thank you. Says the last thing Notre Dame wanted to do was leave Jeremiah Smith one-on-one. Why in the world did they blitz? It's like when Arizona State did that with Texas on their 4th and 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
He ran a good route, and it is tough to leave people one-on-one, but the corner he was on was an experienced guy. He's one of their better corners. He's probably their best corner, and it's just you take risk, and they didn't get there. They did a good job, and hey, Will Howard had a good pass. He threw a good ball. I mean, it is what it is. He threw a good pass, so you got to. You take chances. They believed in him all year. They, obviously he's a great player. Jeremiah Smith is. So I get people, thinking that was bad. Also, but he's probably, how many times was he one-on-one during that game that he had locked him up, and he had done well throughout the game. So it's not, it's easy to just look at one play and say, obviously you shouldn't have done it. Maybe it's worked most of the game, and besides that one play, it's not like Jeremiah Smith just absolutely shredded him everywhere. I mean, he was good. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like he had some 200, 300 yard game against him. Or
Right.
But.
Someone else said, "Why did Love only have 3 carries? Wasn't he injured?"
Yeah, he was dinged up even after the Texas. I mean, after the
I just remember
Penn State game.
Yeah, I remember them talking about it on I just remember them talking about it.
Let's move on.
The commentators.
To what I'm sure a lot of people want to talk about and hear more about is this Jim Knowles news. We had a viewer, I think last week, ask us about if we thought this was an option. And granted, I didn't, and I don't know how much I think it's going to be. Actually, I mean, I'm kind of feeling good about it for a couple of reasons we'll get into. But when you get new information, you're free to change your opinion. I know some people will like to talk about when you change opinions, you're flip-flopping, whatever. Always change your mind when you get new information. And from what we heard him say at Media Day, he was asked, and I'll read out his answer, obviously there's a lot of talk about Oklahoma and his connections here and the former, the coaching he did at Oklahoma State. Is there any truth to that? What do you have to say about that? Now, if you remember, and I think Thune pointed this out on his show, and then I listened to Stoy and them too talk about it a little bit. Back when Dan Lanning was asked about the Alabama job, and I couldn't find the clip either, but I remember him being so decisive about him saying, no, I'm not going to take that. I want to be at Oregon. I want to finish my career here. I'm not going to be at Alabama, basically. It was as adamant as Lincoln Riley was. He wasn't going to be the LSU coach. Now, Dan Lanning didn't have another team in his back pocket either, but it was that adamant, basically. And then you look at how Zach Alley answered the question when he was asked about West Virginia. Now, Zach Alley also said, I'm excited for the talent we have returning, insinuating that he's going to be a part of that group.
Part of and us.
Yeah, and us.
Yeah.
Jim Knowles says, so basically he's like, hey, Jim, what do you have to say of these, these rumors that are going around? Are they true or whatnot? And he says, look, beat Notre Dame. That's all I'm focused on. He said, these things happen, I guess, when you have success. Players are making plays. My job is to put them in the best position. These things come up when you do well. I mean, I don't know what even that answers. That wasn't the question asked. How do you get players to do, what is your job as a DC?
I read that answer and I was like, that can't be his reply, right? Because that was
it's like a non-answer answer.
And maybe what he was saying is when you have success, other schools are going to come calling, but I'm just worried about beating Notre Dame. Is he very loquacious? Like, he's very good with words.
Loquacious? Yeah. Is locution? I don't know. I don't believe so. I don't think he's known for being some.
Just didn't know if sometimes people just aren't good with answering questions in general. So I don't know if he maybe is like notorious for being vague or just not putting together the best syntax when it comes to a sentence. But no, it was weird.
My thing is, like, if I know I'm not going to go anywhere and I know that I'm happy where I'm at, I'm just going to say, look, I appreciate. Look, it's always an honor to be talked about with different universities. Obviously, the ones with the story of the career is Oklahoma, but I'm totally happy where I am. I have no reason to want to go to Oklahoma or another university.
Right.
I'm not interested in that. But I appreciate them reaching out or even being considered for another job like that.
But then maybe a vagueness still gives you the leverage you would need for even just staying where you are, but getting a raise. Not that I think that Ohio State's, not paying him well, but
I think he's the highest paid assistant in the country. Almost.
Yeah,
I mean, he's getting.
That's what I'm saying. So I was like, I don't know how much leverage you need when you're already like number one, essentially. But
so at Ohio, so obviously, if you can get him, obviously you want him. It'd be a great hire. I'm trying to think the best way to go about my thoughts on him coming here and what I think it actually does for BV. For me, outside of it just being purely personal, for those who don't know, he has a wife or fiance that lives in Oklahoma. He has family, or his kids go to Oklahoma schools, and there's just a belief that I think he's almost 60. He's closer to retirement, and there's a belief that he wants to start settling down and be more around his family as he gets older and as they enter the high school years, which is completely understandable. You can't fault him for that.
60 and has kids in school?
I believe so, yeah. I believe one of his kids is about to play basketball at Oklahoma school. I don't want to say which one.
Nice.
But there are, like, if I am looking at hiring a DC, if I'm BV, right, he really hasn't been able to hire one yet that I feel like he believes both on an experience level and an intellectual level.
Ouch.
I mean that in football, and I don't mean that in terms of like IQ or whatever. I'm saying on an intellectual understanding defenses and on an experience level that he trusts as much as he trusts himself yet. I believe there's maybe 3 coaches out there. I think Jim Knowles is one of those 3. I think Zach Alley, as talented as he is and the potential that he has, he doesn't have the experience yet for BV to just simply say, "Hey, I'm running the team. You are running the defense. I don't want to. I don't care about. I don't want to hear about the. I don't want to do. I'm trusting you wholly." I think he knew with Zach, there's still a little bit of that. I'm watching over you. I'm going to be here to give you advice, and I want to not sign off on every game plan, but just kind of be the mentor, be there whenever be there for you. Well, with Jim Knowles, I think he can truly say, "Hey, Jim, give me the game plan. Let me know what you're doing. Other than that, you run it. I trust you enough to run it." And he can truly focus on being a head coach if that's what he wants.
Yeah.
I don't know. The money's not an issue, I don't think, for the Oklahoma. They'll be able to get the funds, and I know that they've already. I believe they already have the funds established to hire him if they go that route. They are. He gets, I think, around 3.4-ish, 3.5. He got a bonus for winning the national championship at Ohio State. But we got. I mean, there are reasons why you can understand the move. Money is the easiest. Notre Dame just signed their defensive coordinator, Al Golden, for like $2 to $3 million. Clemson's DC just got over $2 million, and Oklahoma's paying Alex Grinch $1.8 million. So it's not like we can't afford a defensive coordinator if we want one. You have to ask, does the move for him and for BV make a difference enough to where you're you're comfortable handing over the defense, and also, are you comfortable? How does when they butt heads, who gets the final say there? Because if you're Jim Knowles, and I'm going to let you go, and I'm on a soapbox, and I'll read off the stats after this. But,
by all means, continue.
But if you're Jim Knowles, it's, do I want to go somewhere where I know I have a coach that is as successful as I've been as a defensive coordinator, that has the name that I have as a defensive coordinator? Do I think that I want to go somewhere where if I don't see eye to eye with him, is he going to use I'm the head coach, you're going to do what I want to do, and you're going to and if you don't want to do that, you don't have to be here. Maybe you won't. I don't think BV would want to do that. But you never know, and that's a risk for him. And for me, I would really be curious. And I think for Jim, there are obviously other reasons to come. But if I'm Jim, I'm looking at I'm currently at Ohio State. It's a great university. I got a lot of tradition, national exposure. Obviously, they just won the national championship. I'm getting praise from everyone. I mean, people almost ubiquitously consider me one of the top, if not the top, defensive coordinators. Oklahoma, I can go to Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma has the benefit of a couple things. One, they're in the SEC, where he hadn't at least been at DC level yet. He has been at the Big 12. He has been at the Big 10. They also are a very young defense with a lot of returning talent. Mm-hmm. Where if you're Ohio State, they're losing some of their guys that they had that were big name players. So if Knowles, you get to come to Oklahoma, closer to home with family, and where your friends are, or where your family is at least. You have a young defense, and you have a school that is especially I think a head coach that would support that move and give you the free reign, if you will, that I think he wants as a DC. That's considerations I would make if I'm going to make that move. If you're OU, if he wants to come here, I think you're crazy not to hire him. He's too talented of a coach. He's been successful everywhere.
Right. Which, speaking of which, we do have a super chat.
Oh,
that says,
sorry.
Is Knowles worth paying over $3 million to be the DC?
What do you think? I've talked way too much. You go ahead.
What do I mean?
Or I can keep going if you want.
I don't know where we're at financially.
Assume that's not. It seemed like that's a lot of money, but not going to kill us. But
why not? We just got imagine that Ben Arbuckle on one side of the ball, who we think will be pretty good, based on how he's done so far, and then you have Jim Knowles on the other side of the ball with as much talent as we are bringing back on the defense. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that has the potential to be dangerous. And if you're Brent Venables, when this could be a year, this probably is a year you're coaching for your job. Mm-hmm. You need all the support that you can get.
Absolutely.
And all the knowledge, just everything that I think it'd be worth it. Especially when we've had Ted Roof. Okay, then we have Zach Alley. It's just been a revolving door. Revolving. I realized, why did I say that with an accent? Revolving door. So, you can get someone more established. You had mentioned that, the family being here and, having a young defense. Part of, maybe you mentioned it too. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I
you're fine.
Zone out because I start trying to go through my own thoughts.
Okay.
But did you mention that he was like an OU fan during his life?
I did not, but yeah, I'll let you go into that. Yeah.
Okay, so apparently he grew up an OU fan, has always been an OU fan. So for me, as someone where intrinsic value is huge, we grew up OU fans. That could be, if he is ready to settle down and he's ready to be more present at home or just be home, why? I mean, that could be like you've already checked it off. We got a natty. I'm checking off that I'm one of the best defensive minds that there is right now. Why not check off your quote unquote dream job? If that's the case, I'm not speaking words into it. I'm just saying for us, I know working for the University of Oklahoma would be like a dream job. Essentially, it's just, I feel like for most people in the chat, if you were offered something in Oklahoma sports, you would all love to work there. And so that could be something that he's thinking as well, just to throw out there. Again, never talked to him. I don't know, but that's just where I think of intrinsically, because I know for us, like when we got the opportunities to go to the University of Oklahoma, it was a no-brainer for us because we wanted that intrinsic value. To see that degree that had the University of Oklahoma on it meant more to us than another university.
Right. Sorry
to those universities. It's just how we were raised. But I don't know. It's an interesting development. Chad was very excited when he came, and he's like, you remember when I said there's no way this is happening? There's nothing, like, just let it go. He's like, apparently there's smoke.
Yeah. It sounds wild, but yeah, here's how good Jim Knowles is as a defensive coordinator. So he gets to Ohio State in 2020. Well, he gets there in 2022, but
he gets to the real OSU.
Well done. Ohio State rankings in yards allowed per game, right? In 2020, they were 60th. 2021, they were 59th. 2022, he arrives there, they go to 14th. 2023, they go to 3rd, and this year in 2024, they were number 1. They were first in the nation, Ohio State was, in scoring defense and total defense, just 12.2 points per game and 4.1 yards per game. At Oklahoma State, because, I mean, yeah, obviously people will say, look, it's Ohio State, look at the talent they have. This is where his defense is finished in 2021. His defense finished in 2021 at Ohio State, or at Oklahoma State.
Too many OSUs.
They finished top 10 nationally in yards per play, points per game, yards per game, sack percentage, and total sacks. They went 12-2, won the Big 12 title. They also pass interference the heck out of our receivers in the Bedlam game, but that doesn't matter. When they ended up beating Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. So we talked about it with Arbuckle whenever he was hired. That kind of success isn't luck. When you have success like that and you can retain it over and over and over again, it shows that your system or whatever you have that is kind of your key, your like staple of whatever defensive system you're running. And again, I want to get my dad on here to talk about it one time, but it just works, right? If you have a system that you can implement and it's consistent, and that's the biggest thing whenever you're talking with kids or whenever you're especially going on the recruiting trail, no matter where he's gone, he's been successful. So no matter where he brings in players, they've ended up being really, really good and really, really good defenses. Now, one of the other considerations, and I guess the back and forth, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, does this change, if say we hire him, say he's the new defensive coordinator, does this change? How does this change your thoughts about the 2025 season? Right now, we're projected at 7 wins. If you hire him, interested maybe in your over-under on the 7 wins alone, but if we hire Jim Knowles, how does that change your outlook on 2025? Does it change your outlook?
The defensive side of the ball is not what I was worried about.
Exactly. That's
so it really doesn't change my perspective now to an extent of like, I think in the way that Arbuckle did. And that's not a knock on Jim Knowles. It's just, I saw what we had on defense this year. And at the end of the day, we had Brent Venables as a head coach. So if we didn't even have a DC, part of me was like, all right, then BV's just taking over the defense. Arbuckle's offense, fine. That's kind of where I was. Not to say that I think it could be a great addition. Should that be should that actually come to why can't I talk today?
It's good. It's long day for T. She had evals. She deals with kids. It's all good.
I've had 3 evals in 2 days, so it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of brain power.
And she's married to me, which
yeah,
actually probably more of a blessing than anything, if you would say. But not saying it's always great.
He's had long days too, so we haven't talked much the last 48 hours.
It's crazy. It really has.
We've been so tired. But for me, I feel like it doesn't change as much. Only thing is, I think, like you said, bringing Jim Knowles on, someone BV could trust to take the defense, take those reins, so he doesn't have to feel like he has to maybe assert himself on that side of the ball as much. Let Arbuckle do what he does on offense, and then he can just focus on like the game management side of the ball, and like you mentioned, like being the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could go a long way. So maybe we're not wasting timeouts or, stuff like that. But
I know a lot. Like Steve says, no way Oklahoma outbids Ohio State. Knowles isn't leaving Columbus. This
Nobody
assumes
says
well.
outbid.
This assumes though that and again, if it's just about money, but this assumes that the deciding factor is money for Knowles. I mean, he's made 2.5 plus million the last 4 years. So there are other considerations. Money's obviously the one that everyone jumps to the most, or most quickly. But sometimes, say we're 200, 300,000 below Ohio State, but we offer him the ability to be with his family more. I mean, at some point when you're making $3.5 million a year,
what can you buy with $3 million?
Like 400,000 isn't going to make you that much.
3.5.
You ain't going to lose sleep over 400,000. You will lose sleep if your wife starts disliking you because you won't, move back home.
You will lose sleep if your wife sleeps elsewhere.
You also won't sleep with you. Well, never mind. There's a. But yeah, I just don't think money is the only consideration for a guy like Knowles. I really don't. I think if he comes to Oklahoma, it won't simply be because of money.
And we're married. If you didn't know that, we are married.
Yeah.
We're not. So if we were living apart, and Chad was offered a job where he could be home, but he didn't take it over money that's not going to make a difference in the end, like you mentioned.
For us 400, 400, but yeah.
Like 400,000. He's like, no, I make more money here. I'd be like, no, nope, that would not be.
No, you're right. And so I just don't think that's, I just don't think he's the deciding factor. But like you said, it's just, it's all relative. I remember we talked about this with Harden when he left for Houston. It was like, you're going to get 30 million from Oklahoma City. You're going to get 41 from Houston. It's like, dude, you're making 30 million, 11 million. You won't even realize it's gone. But it's just what it is. Kind of, it's a different thing. But I going back to that question about does it change your outlook on the? I'm with you. I think 100%. I'm not. Defense wasn't what was worrying me going into next year. Gave me cause for pause. It was offense, and that's not news breaking. It's I think how mostly everyone felt, but having the ability, I guess, to have a coach that can come in and sees how those elite programs are run from a BV perspective, I think is monumental in and of itself in a different way than just him being a coach. He understands how those, how Ohio State runs their program, where we might be lacking in terms of, talent development or wherever that might be in terms of, spring ball, how we run our spring practices.
Right.
Maybe he can help with us being more healthy going into the season. There are other things that, might be beneficial besides just, being the coach, being the DC. So maybe that's another added benefit that he gives. If we end up hiring him, when he comes to Oklahoma. But other than that, those are kind of my main thoughts. I just don't think that personally if we don't get him and we hire a Wes Goodwin from Clemson, I'm fine with that. If we do get him, awesome. It's always good to have really good coaches. You're never going to go broke. You're never going to be bad having really good coaches everywhere. The linebacker coach needs to be, we need to get one regardless if we hire him or not.
And that's what, if you saw me looking down, that's what I was trying to look up. Because I know we have the Clemson, I can never say his name right.
James Skalski?
Thank you. I was like, I know his name is James, but I'm like Skalski,
yeah.
Smallski. I can't ever figure out the last name. I was checking to see if he was still on the staff because he was assistant linebackers coach. Of course, he is national champion at Clemson. So I was just seeing if he was still on staff just by chance. Someone said it was a wild statement. What I said about his wife, it was not serious. I really hope she would never,
joke,
or any wife would, or husband would cheat if they were just separated.
But Skalski I think could run it, and then you have also, several guys that could run it. Yeah, Billy Benton just said BV can still coach line. There's several things, and it's almost, I think where some people have the holdup is, say you raise enough money to hire a Jim Knowles. Would you rather use that money on just getting more talented players out of the portal, or just saving it for whenever you have another negotiation going into next year? Does Jim Knowles coming here really change? And I'm trying to think beyond just this next year. Maybe if I think he'll have insurance in that even if we have a bad year next year, BV's let go or whatever happens, whoever comes in next, I think is going to want Jim Knowles as their DC with how good he's been everywhere he has been.
Someone said,
but
isn't the defense losing key pieces to graduation?
No,
not
we're not.
really.
I think we have 9 returning starters next year.
With Danny
Stutzman,
Billy Bowman leaving.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 8 with that. If you look at Ethan Downs being a starter, but no, you're not losing much at all actually, and you're getting more depth out of the portal that I didn't think we were going to get, which is nice. Our defense is going to be stacked. Actually, it'll be really good next year. It's probably the most.
And our defense was already deep. Our defense was deep.
Yeah. We
were shifting guys in and out. Ask Tennessee. Apparently their coaches were like, oh man, they're going to be getting tired soon. We're going to see where their backups. And it turned out we'd already been rotating several players deep. So yeah, it's exciting.
You got to, I remember like David Stone is going to be another year in the system. Jane Jackson obviously going to be there again. So I'm excited for the defense. I think it'll be good. Just a quick question here, and then we'll go to the NIL Xavier Lucas talk. How long do you think it'll take for the OL to get back to normal? That is all dependent on, first off, who is starting next year, who they have best, the injury history of that player, what kind of cuts and bruises they're dealing with, and what they are doing. I still think that there are some adjustments that can be made in the spring or in the fall camp, spring football time period, to where we're just not seeing the amount of people beat up that we are. Because I do think that's still abnormal. It does seem like every year for Oklahoma there is a issue with some of the guys having to say, hey, in games he'll be here by week 3, our guard will, or this guy will. I would love to have a year where we come in and we just have everybody healthy to play.
Yeah.
And that's been consistent. I mean, that happens, and some of that's unavoidable. I get that, but I'm just hoping that we can have a full squad that has gone through spring football together. Relative. I mean, I know you'll take plug and play pieces to see what work out. Right, and fall ball all together. Been able to move forward that way, but.
Sorry, fall camp.
Yeah,
fall
for
balls.
Sure. Piedmont Knowles.
Baseball, softball term.
Oh, that's cool, Corey. I didn't realize that.
Somebody said that
Piedmont.
Jim Knowles' fiance, where she lives, and that her son is the one that plays sports there. Oh, it's fiance.
Fiance. Oh, sorry. I think it's a girl.
Close enough. There's a ring.
Or wife. But anyways, yeah.
There's a ring.
Invest in Knowles because the players will bring with. Yeah, I mean, sure. If he brings some guys with them, it'd be awesome.
Can you read that? Because they do strip our voices for podcasts.
What?
Can you actually read that?
Oh, invest. Who is Gunter says invest in Knowles. He's talking about Jim Knowles because he will bring players with him. And sure, I'm sure a couple of guys will want to come with him because of the relationship at Ohio State. I guess the thought is then, are those players good enough to make it good enough to make up for the money you're having to spend on Knowles, or can you get players adequate to that, similar to that level out of the portal and save that money and use it different? Maybe you can. I'm just guessing. I have no idea. If he's bringing guys with him, that's fantastic. But I'm just saying it's not like a make or break thing to me. That's my only thing. Now if he brings Caleb Downs, it'd be more than worth it. But that'll be a tough one because Caleb Downs probably agrees to an NIL thing and then doesn't just leave his team high and dry. And that'll be interesting. But to talk about. So, any final thoughts on the Jim Knowles thing or?
Not until it does or doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And
I feel like we've said what we've needed to say.
And it does seem weird that the only reason why I think there's a really good chance, and it does seem weird that we haven't had a move yet. We haven't really had a good call.
Sorry, I was reading a comment, and I'm like, that's
we're gonna have to hide them, and then we'll go back.
That's what they're in the business for.
We haven't had a good call or a good leak as to who was going to be the next DC. You're hearing kind of the smoke about Jim Knowles, and it's like, why has OU waited so long? Well, if it's not going to be the option, or if that's not a real option.
Right, and also people's like, why is OU waiting so long? Well, if your top choice and a choice that is possible is still playing football,
right?
There's only so much you could do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could, put feelers out for others, but I don't know. It's interesting. It was interesting to see you so excited about it.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, apparently this is actually a thing. And I've had some people that I trust that have come out and said, there's real interest on both sides there. I mean, and if there is, then again, if you can get him, you bring him in. He's a good great coach, and the more good coaches you have, the better your team's going to be. And obviously, you want that. So,
unless you just have a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah.
which I don't think we do.
No, our defense is not going to be. Our defense is going to be, and I think our offense is going to be really good. I think our offense has a chance to. People don't understand how we. I mean, we were close to winning 9 games this year. If you just have a few snaps go the other way.
If you just have a functional average offense.
Yeah, I just I think that people are going to be really shocked when they see Oklahoma next year. And funny enough, you're starting to see some channels that I follow post is Oklahoma the sleeper team in the SEC. And I don't know if they ghost watch our show. I know for a fact some of the people that have these streams the other night that have all these websites ghost watch our show, which is fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't, whatever. It's all good. Hey, look, we're here to give information. I'm joking. I'm being facetious.
We give more opinions, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. More opinions. That's a good cover by you. That's fantastic. Yeah. Opinions. But when you just have all of our team healthy, you're going to be astronomically better on offense. You got a Mateer coming in who is going to be, who I think is going to be really, really good. It's why, they tweeted out this top 25 earlier, and I laughed because it's like, for some reason, Arch Manning is just considered like a Heisman Trophy contender already. I don't know why. There's no real reason to think that, besides just potential. He played against Mississippi State and what's the other school?
UL Monroe, UTSA.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Cool, I guess. I don't know, but the love for Arch Manning. I mean, Micah Hawkins has shown me more than Arch Manning. He's made more. He has had more big time playmaking. He's made more big plays than Arch Manning has. He just doesn't have the last name Manning, and he's also been exposed to things that Arch wasn't. He was thrown out in the deep sea by himself. By himself with one of his engines not working. I mean, it's a tough.
With one of his engines not working.
It's one of his.
That'd be your nightmare.
Oh my gosh, nothing scarier. Nothing scarier.
No, I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing: these way too early predictions and these, I don't care. People get so offended and up in arms. You being one that wants to argue over them,
Yeah, I think they're fun. I gotta realize though, some people on Twitter take arguments seriously, and I just think they're funny or fun. I don't have anxiety. Like people get like anxiety over. I just couldn't care. I argue about LeBron and Jordan a lot because it's a funny argument.
I am not a confrontational person.
Yeah.
Like unless it comes to my husband, my best friend, which really I don't know why my best friend can handle herself for sure. Like she's more confrontational than me.
She scares me.
My brother.
No.
And my parents. Essentially my family. Mm-hmm. Then I'll be confrontational. But other than that, I don't like to argue. I don't like to argue. And I don't, even when people call me the most awful things or just insult me online, I'm just like, all right, dude, have a good day. Mm-hmm. I try not to throw insults and stuff. Because people, like you said, do take it far too seriously. And it is insane to me. It's, again, I can't do it. I don't like to argue. Yeah. No,
yeah. Okay.
That's why so many times now, if I say anything that's even remotely, I say confrontational, but remotely where I could just feel like people just want to attack it, I just mute it. Argue with yourself. Argue with yourself in the comments. If I say I don't like ice cream, and somebody's just gonna start on, I'm just like, and mute.
Yeah. I'm not. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out who we all got. Someone asked who I think the wide receiver out of the portal is to look forward to the most. And if you're watching right now, I do apologize. I am trying to find my list of most exciting players to watch. I think it's going to be Arkansas Pine Bluff, the transfer, Gibson.
Gibson?
Yeah.
Another Gibson?
If you watch his film, he's got size. I mean, he's got great size, and he's quick. He's laterally quick, too, for how big he is. Which in football, the 40 time is cool and it's impressive. But really what you want in football is lateral quickness. Because there's not many times you're going to just have a sprint that's 40 yards. Really, you're running route concepts, you're blocking, you're pill blocking, whatever it is. So 40 times are cool, but the shuttle is more important to me. What you can do laterally is a bigger, I think, ability. I'd rather have a guy more laterally quick than just 40 speed down. That 40 speed straight away is really fast. Mm-hmm. New England Patriots had the same theory as well in how they drafted their receivers. They didn't have a lot of guys that were just besides the Randy Moss years, it was more of a Welker in them.
Similar in basketball.
Right.
You just, that quickness and agility is going to get you a lot further than just straight running.
100%. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for the most. So.
Although also, if you are joining us from Facebook or Twitter, go ahead and hop over here to YouTube. There is a live chat going on, so you can talk with us. You can talk with other people in our community. Just fun. So if you want to hop on over here, that'd be great.
and unapologetic plug, please like the video. Just like it. It takes 2 seconds. I watched YouTube all the time. I hate it when people ask that, but now that we do it, I watch YouTube all the time. Well, I listen. I don't really watch the screen.
Okay, that was a loophole.
Speaking of loopholes, T, that leads us right into our next story, which is a wild one because I used to. Well, I shouldn't even say that. Just like a contract, but so there was a Wisconsin
quarterback. If you didn't know, Chad's a
quarterback.
lawyer, so this is where he's about to get really excited. Continue.
If NIL contracts. If you didn't know, there's a quarterback out of Wisconsin named Xavier Lucas. And he signed apparently with Wisconsin. They had now I don't know if it's with Wisconsin specifically or with the Big Ten overall. I'm trying to type this out here, so sorry that
How
I
about
look
you
like
type it out first, and then you can talk.
That was a good idea.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why you hire a smart lady or marry a smart lady. I said hire. That's going to be terrible for me later. That's just not good.
Hire?
Here we go. Someone clip that, please.
I am not getting paid enough if I'm hired.
Well, you're getting paid in love.
Barely. What in the world?
That's so mean. Barely.
Oh.
All right.
Sorry.
NIL, the Xavier Lucas
Mind
thing.
blown.
So football player Xavier Lucas, cornerback, wants to transfer to Miami. Now, typically, in Wisconsin, where he's playing now, is not allowing him to transfer. From what I last saw. Now, apparently, they had a NIL revenue sharing agreement that he signed with Wisconsin. In that agreement, it says that any transfer has to be approved through Wisconsin or whatever it is. Now, the loophole that everyone's talking about, and I think it is a loophole. I don't think it's a realistic one if you're not being tampered with, and I'll say why. But basically, what he did, so he obviously tells Wisconsin, "Hey, I want to be in the portal." And typically, by NCAA rules, you have 48 hours to enter that player in the portal. So basically, have 2 days to talk him out of entering, right? And if you don't, you have to enter his name by NCAA rule. Well, they don't do that. Obviously, he wants to enter in. They basically say, "No, look, you signed this deal with us, and because you signed this NIL contract with us, and the revenue sharing, that we don't have to put you in the portal. We don't have to. You have to honor your contract." So what he does. And his attorney finds this, has this idea, which is, brilliant in terms of finding a loophole, but also if you're not. So what he does, I'll just say what he does first. What he does is he has his player, instead of entering the transfer portal, he never enters. He just unenrolls from Wisconsin. Now, typically, the NCAA has a rule that if you unenroll from a school, you cannot talk to another institution for a calendar year, for another university or athletic program for a calendar year. Well, he enrolls in Miami. So by virtue of just common sense, Miami has to talk to him. So that they can't require Miami not to discuss anything with him because he's now a student at Miami. You have to do class schedules. You have to have someone from the academic center talking to him. Therefore, it negates that rule. So he signs. Now he can talk with Miami. He can talk with the athletic program. He can talk with them. And he finds a spot on their team. So now they're signing NIL deals with Miami or whatever it is. So that's the loophole we found. But how does that loophole work? You have to have known that the position was open and there for you before you unenrolled from Wisconsin. Other than that, there's no way for you to guarantee you'll have anywhere to go once you unenroll from your school. Mm-hmm. You can unenroll from Oklahoma, but if you do that thinking some other school is just going to have a spot for you, you're crazy.
Right.
You have to know somehow. And again, he never entered the transfer portal, which is the only time you're legally allowed by regulation, NCAA regulation, allowed to talk to another player is when they're in the portal. He never enters the portal, but somehow knows that Miami has a spot for him.
Right.
The only way you can do that is if he was told, "Hey, enter the portal. Here's this. Hire this attorney. He knows how to work his way around it." It's a brilliant strategy. They're going to have to shut it down somehow because obviously he was tampered with. And what I think what is interesting about this whole story is contracts require certain elements to be met. And I don't know really if this is the right case for Wisconsin to bring a lawsuit because I don't know if the facts really, they're saying that bad facts make bad law. I don't know if these facts really are a case that I would want to bring a lawsuit because his NIL revenue sharing deal was based on a potential settlement, the House settlement that's going to hearing April 7th that they might finalize then. The new NIL guidance by the Department of Education that just came out probably will be changed in the new administration, but that might throw a wrench in the system in terms of that settlement. But he has to go through and anyways, that is a part of the agreement that is not in reality yet, right? It's potential. It's based on this idea that there will be a settlement and then we'll pay you out of the revenue share that comes from that. I don't believe you can have potential or promised consideration be enough for a valid contract. I can't say, hey, do this, but I do this, and your consideration for doing this is that there might be something down the road I can give you in terms of revenue.
Okay.
Right? Because only a part of it is through the collective or through the non-rev share university funds. So I don't know if he has a real damage. Even if you run on the merits, I don't know what you can prove are damages because there was no money paid to Lucas, and also it's premised on this idea that you're going to get the house settlement eventually, which may or may not come to fruition. That word we talked about earlier. So if you're Wisconsin, you can bring some claims, I guess, if you find that there is a contract there. Like there's tortious interference with the contract. I think it meets the elements there. You need to have the plaintiff has a valid contract. He signed an agreement with you, knowing he knew about the contract. He knew what he intentionally caused the breach, in my opinion. I don't believe it was justified. That would be an issue for a fact finding issue. And then obviously the damages is where you're going to have a problem though, because I don't know what Wisconsin would say their damages are, because they hadn't paid him money yet, other than them just being embarrassed that they had a player sign an agreement with them and negate or withdraw from that agreement later on. But they're going to have to shut it down. And I know people are upset at the NCAA. Look, the NCAA, they have two hands behind their back. Imagine the NCAA says that, hey, yeah, you know what? We aren't going to allow him to do this because it's obvious what he's done. Well, you can't just assume it's obvious what he did, because there's a minuscule chance that he didn't know anything about it and he just loves Miami. And there's also, I should add, that apparently his father is sick and he wanted to go to Miami to be with his father. I don't know how true that is. I saw both stories both ways, but assuming that, not considering that part of it.
But you think if that was actually the case and you went to your coaches at Wisconsin to say that, what coach in the right mind would say, no, too bad?
Right.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's totally right.
That's hard for me to wrap my mind around, because coaches they're human. If you're not going to, if a father was sick and truly sick where feel like you need to be close to them, they're not going to say, nope, stay on the other side of the country. Yeah. Too bad. I don't see that.
I don't either. So obviously if it is, I hope his dad gets better or whatnot. But just in terms of what it looks like.
I'm not saying, yes, thank you for saying that, because people would act like I was trying to say something.
Right.
I'm just saying in general, it's hard for me to believe that a coach wouldn't let you out. And if they do, then shame on them, just to play devil's advocate.
Right. And I think this goes to what a lot of people have been saying. Eventually, you're going to have some sort of collective bargaining, maybe making the football team and men's basketball employees of the school somehow, or have them be a way that they can unionize and bargain amongst themselves, because then you don't have these kind of claims. You can't, because anytime right now, the issue with the NCAA that they're running into right now, for those that don't know, is any regulation they try to put on a player gets struck down by a court because it's seen as an unjustified restraint on business practices or the ability to commercialize your name, image, and likeness. Right now, it's out of Title I of the Sherman Act, but those only work for unreasonable restraints, right? Because any contract you sign is technically a restraint on your ability to do whatever you want to do throughout the workday. You don't have those abilities in work because you sign a contract that lays out the duties that you have to fulfill in order to get a paycheck, whatever it is. What is an issue right now is that they don't have any regulation. The NCAA has nothing they can fall back on to say, hey, we need to hold any player that signs a deal accountable, because everything they do is struck down as, well, you're just restricting his ability to commercialize himself, to make money off of his name, NIL. There's an argument that the portal is doing that. There's an argument that you should be able to allow a college player to, well, outside of scheduling classes, which is an issue, but that you should be able to allow a player to transfer week 4 to another university if they think they can perform more there. I mean, before there were, I remember I forget which school it was. There was it might have been No, I don't know. It was before Princeton was called University of New Jersey or something of that sort. But there was a player that literally transferred like week 4 of the college year to play at a different school to beat this team that was close to them, and then he transfers back to his other school and they win the Natty in 1890 something. It was crazy story.
Wasn't there a guy from Alabama that low-key kind of just did that? Didn't he go to Iowa for a month and came back to Alabama?
That was the offensive lineman that they had. He was back to Alabama. I don't know. Again, I don't know if he got any money from them. I don't know anybody that would be.
That's just wild to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big change.
What you know,
my biggest issue is you sign a contract. Be a man. Honor your contract. Like, we've lost any type of integrity. It seems like we've lost all type of loyalty, honesty, integrity, and like we've lost character traits that are valuable to society. Like, we're so entitled. We're so all about me, myself, and I. It's me, my, and mine. There's no integrity. You sign a contract. You must honor said contract. It's a basic decency. Now, with the exception of the loophole of if you truly have a sick, close family member, there's exceptions. But just to say, I'm not honoring my contract because I don't want to, or I'm not going to honor my contract because I'm going to go get more money. It just blows my mind. And that's not, again, we all have work contracts. We all have probably left a job at one point or another for another job for other reasons. But I understand when people say, well, you've never left a job. It's just, to me, I hate that we're calling college athletics jobs.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's where I'm down to it, because college athletics used to be about loyalty. It used to be about love for the university. It used to be about team, and it used to be about those things. And so now that it's just job, it just makes me kind of sick. It really does, because it's just hard to be a fan, because we want the players to love the university as much as we love it as fans, and how it used to be. And now it just seems like it's just not the case.
No. A Trojan Fight here says, allowing this, any player is going to say, oh, well, I'm transferring, portal closed, the portal is closed. Just kidding. No, it's not. What's next? Somebody will leave in the middle of the season.
Exactly.
There are some practical limits on this, because you can't just enroll in the middle of a season. Even to transfer out of the portal, you have to meet certain elements. Like, you have to show that you have a grade point out. You have to show that you have the right credits that'll transfer to keep you on track to get your degree.
There's also the add-drop period in schools.
Right, and that's and you adding classes will be tough.
Though,
but also don't forget this only works. This doesn't work if you don't know that the other team has a spot for you. Remember that it's not. I think people are skipping. People are going from he just unenrolled and just went to another school as if that's what you do in the portal. The portal, other teams see that you're available. Here, no other team knew he even unenrolled was available except for Miami. So he unenrolls at Wisconsin and goes to Miami, knowing that Miami has a spot for him. That's the only reason you would unenroll from the university.
It's the tampering aspect.
That's Now tampering's there for sure, but that's not going to be like this loophole. I think is going to not. I don't know if it'll be used as much as people have hyped it up to be used. I still think the portal is going to be a thing. I just eventually think that you're going to have some way that you can bargain. You can put people on uniform player contracts that they have in the NFL. Which really, like, agents at that point just negotiate salary. They're not. It's more boilerplate language that your players' union has agreed to, and you can argue salary at that point. But
right, and honestly, this could be a real world wake up call for this kid, because you don't honor contracts or you break contracts, you get sued, and whether or not he wins is not the point. You're still gonna have to go through it, and I like you mentioned, whether or not Wisconsin does sue the kid for breach of contract, I don't know, but.
Voice of College Football, Mark.
Part of me at this point, though, with NIL, is these kids start breaking contracts soon.
Oh, they'll start.
You want real world money? You got real world problems.
Well, wait till they start having to wait till tax issues come up, because you want to know who doesn't care about any of your NIL or amateur IRS. They don't care.
Yeah.
Mark from the Voice of College Football says the problem with that is that the original structure was based on academics and it being recreation. Popularity led to money, and once money is introduced, it becomes a business. True. I mean, it was technically based on amateurism, which is maybe a distinction without a difference, but it is a business. I think whoever is the NCAA marketing team is horrible, because I get so sick of hearing, and I got sick of hearing because I was an athlete at OU. The benefits you get just being an athlete at OU are worth tens of thousands of dollars alone. They get $80,000 scholarships to pay for everything. We have student loan. I mean, the idea that that's not valuable is insane. The idea that you have a bespoke gym that has every single thing you'll ever need, And by the way, let's just be honest here. The idea that you get to walk around campus saying you're an athlete at Oklahoma, you get into all the bars without waiting. Everyone wants your picture. Everyone wants to know who you are. Everyone wants to hang out with you. You get invited to everything. All the networking opportunities. You have everything opened up for you. And for some reason, the NCAA just couldn't argue that point ever. And all it turned into was these kids are being just taken advantage of for their athletic. No, they're not. They're not. I'm sorry. They're not taken advantage of.
I'm so happy my education was free because I got to be a student athlete.
And that is the issue. and I didn't, it's something I never really understood till I got older either, is that being educated is literally I think the only superpower in the world. The more educated you can get, the more successful you will be. There is a direct correlation to the amount of education you get. And that doesn't have to be just, academic education. I'm saying just like real life education, trade works, whatever it is. The more experience you get in that, the more successful you are. Or the more success you'll have in life. It doesn't mean you'll be rich or that, but you'll have a successful life, meaning one that's fulfilled and one with good friends and good relationships and whatnot. And the idea that like these kids were just, it's like they were just being thrown into. Sorry, my nose is itching. They were just being thrown into athletics, and people were saying, "Oh, they're just being exploited, used." It's like, no, they're not. I mean, sure, I know that people have this.
On top of at that level, you're literally being well taken care of. You got a stub toe, and you're in a spa, essentially.
Well, and I get that, and also I don't know why it only, and apparently it only happens in, and whenever people look at college football revenue, they can't distinguish between revenue and profit. That they don't understand that, like, people don't understand that just because it says OU generated $200 million in revenue, they didn't make $200 million in profit. They don't have, OU has a few $1 million in profit each year from the athletic program. That's it. They don't make, they spend over 195 to 200 million a year to pay for scholarships, to pay for everything else they need for their teams. Our light is acting up over there. So
as well as helping other programs.
Yeah, Oklahoma football pays, I believe basketball might have made revenue last year, or was, if not, they were just below it. But OU football pays for almost, I think, every other sport at OU. Not to mention they pay for things for academics as well. That's always just bothered me. It's just been so annoying for me for years to hear they don't get any benefit. Dude, I guarantee you I got a benefit when I got free clubs, when I could call up my Nike rep and say, "Hey, I want a new driver. Can you send me?" Yeah, that's a benefit.
I wasn't getting
when I go in and get $35 golf clubs, just whenever like that's a benefit.
A million different. Hats,
it's just like. Each. I mean, so I don't, and I get people where you want to, these players make billions of dollars for the NCAA or whatever every year. It's like, but at some point we have to be able to hold them. There has to be an equal meeting in the middle where, I get people like this player empowerment movement. I understand that. I might not agree with all of it, but okay, cool. But there has to be another side of it where you have to. There has to be a way for them to be held accountable, because everyone's just yelling at the NCAA right now. They can't do anything. The courts have made it impossible for them to have any sort of repercussion on anybody.
If you lose accountability, you just lose everything.
And I think that is the word.
In marriages, in friendships, and anything. If you lose accountability, it all goes to crap.
And I think that's my worry, is that I think the NCAA will eventually be right in their argument that what made college football entertaining is that it's not the NFL. That it was actually kids that weren't professionals that really cared and wanted to be whatever it was at the university, either a good player, just say they played at the university. That's what made it fun to watch. And if you're going to make it just, the G League, then you're really going to take away, I think, what makes college football valuable. And
slowly there.
And I think slowly it is getting. So, I think that's going to be something to watch out. There was also, the Title IX guy, this one I won't go into a lot. I think that'll change eventually with the new administration. There's just no way you're going to be able to have, John Mateer having to get the same amount of money as the second string, forward in soccer. Or I don't even, it's just that stuff is that'll just break like the foundation of whatever we're doing in rev share. There's just, I don't know if that's even a realistic right. Option. I know it's set out, but again, that was also, I want to be clear, that was a fact sheet. It's not it has no legal ramification, doesn't have the force of law. Agencies can make regulations that do have force of law, but they have to meet with the Administrative Procedure Act, which has elements you have to set, it requires Congress meeting, blah, blah, blah. Which that was just it's like saying, hey, I think you should do this, basically. So it's not as big as everyone was, tweeting about either. I just, those are just some like thoughts I had about just generally the NIL stuff. And, these, you see it with even the National Signing Day letters of intent and whatnot. They just back out of them because, again, they're seeing it as a restraint on their ability to go commercialize their NIL.
No integrity.
No and it's loyalty. Like, at what point are we just going to say, hey, forget it. Just how about we just pick a kid each year and we just have all these kids move everywhere, and at that point you just whatever place they want to be at is fine. And maybe that's where it ends up. I don't know, but that's kind of where we're at. It's just in this tough spot, and really every team's dealing with it, so we're not unique. But it is difficult, I think, to kind of envision that it's gotten here, and I hope that it gets fixed rather quickly. So hopefully it's how settlement works, and you get some good guidelines for the players too, and all that. You want them to have protections to not be taken advantage of, by agents that have bad intentions or that can use them because they're not familiar with the setting and whatnot. But
I'm about to sneeze. Sorry, everyone. Can't go too far. I don't have a seat.
I thought you were about to. No, I thought you were about to pull over.
I thought you were like, move further from the mic. I'm like, I will fall.
Wouldn't that have been hilarious? Should have fell over.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
For our last topics of the day.
I'll just say I think this is going to end up being right. You're going to have to be employees, I think, unless they get a antitrust exemption, which I don't think they're going to get.
Thank you. For
I hope they would, because I hate the idea of them being employees. I think it's just it's annoying. But anyways, all right. Last topic of the show, and T is going to be really running this one because I'll be honest with you, she is much more into.
He was
these
working,
two,
honestly.
Yeah,
he's been working for like 2 weeks straight after work, and
I'm going to be working after this. Got to look at some leases, but
I will not be walking. Anyways, so I'll start with gymnastics because they had a meet against number 10 Missouri. So it was a top 10 matchup. It was the SEC opener. It was their home opener. And they won by over a point, which is, if you don't know gymnastics, that is quite good. It's kind of like swimming. Or track. If you win by a second, that is a lot of time to win by. Audrey Davis came away with the SEC Gymnast of the Week, while Lily Peterson came away with SEC Freshman of the Week. So 2 for 2 there.
Oh, that's sweet.
They did really, really well. Especially because, like I said, they beat the number 10 team in the nation by over a point. Now, I will say, I was angry with the scoring, but that's just me. I do think Lily got cheated on vault. I think that on the floor, Jordan and Faith got robbed on the floor, and then Audrey got robbed on the bars.
Well, now, and just to give you more credit with your scoring, T is actually pretty spot on. Because I'm like, T, listen, let's just be honest here. No one knows how gymnastics is scored, right? No one knows. It's like how debates are scored in high school and college. No one knows. It's just, you fine. Hopefully you hit the bias of the judge. T's pretty good. I miss it by a good 2 points. But sorry, I interrupt you. I just wanted people to know, like when she says I thought they got screwed, you have some bona fides there that make that opinion,
also,
real.
But again, I did not do gymnastics when I stopped. I mean, I did gymnastics when I was like itty bitty, and I decided that competitive cheer, I was gonna do that instead. Regrets, sorry, mom. Mom also regrets me switching out of gymnastics. But so I've just tried to learn about it more along the way, especially the last few years. Mm-hmm. But even then, like, I'm not perfect, so don't quote me on it. But I will say, when the announcers are even saying, I don't agree with that score, I don't think that's right, then I feel very valid in that. They do go back on the road this week. They will be going against Alabama on Friday.
Someone talked about that.
45. I
was hoping to pull there.
On the SEC network. And Alabama is now number 10. So I guess we go from 110 to the next. So that's fun. But yeah, they're still a lot of fun to watch. Go watch them. Or pull up the SEC network. If you have anxiety, I don't recommend watching The Beam. Just kidding. The Beam is actually super fascinating, but I get nervous watching The Beam. And of late, I get nervous watching The Vault because that's what kind of fell apart at Nationals last year. So I do think that OU women, they seem to be not sticking vaults as much as they normally do. And I kind of think for some of them, Nationals is still in their head. So it's just kind of like a head game thing. But they're doing phenomenal, so go ahead and support them. We're going to go into the love-hate relationship we all have with basketball right now. The men, though. Let's talk about the men's, because they've only had one game that I've seen since I think our last show, which is they played South Carolina. Got to win. First SEC win, everyone.
Yeah, woo! I think we're going to win it all now.
Okay. Anyways, so the men had a 4-point lead going in the half, and at that time they had 11 turnovers. 11. Which is just, sickening. I'm tired of seeing they were making so many passes, these sloppy bounce passes in traffic, and it's just a low percentage pass, and I was sick of seeing it. And luckily, the second half, they decided to clean it up. Only had one turnover, started rebounding a lot better, doing the little things right, being more clean with the ball, and they ended up blowing them out of the water, won by 20 points. So that was very exciting to see. That second half resembled more of like the first 10 games of the season than the last 4 that they've played.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's just the momentum that they need, a confidence builder to go into these next games. They play again, I believe, on Saturday. I'm going to fact check myself. So I don't want to lead you all astray. Not that you can't check it on the ESPN app or the OU app. They do play Saturday against Arkansas at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
I don't think Arkansas is very good either. Or yeah, Arkansas
all
not
the ones
doing
we
too
can
hot either. So like maybe we can still win out there in Fay. The women. Should I talk about the good game or the bad? I'm gonna talk about the good game first.
Yeah.
Talk about the good game first.
Yeah.
It happened first chronologically. I can't go out of order. Good game first. They played Missouri. A lot of Missouri talk.
Familiar with the
Apparently
state?
Apparently they're coordinating with gymnastics. They were up 7 at half with 14 turnovers. 14. I'll get more in the turnovers when it comes to South Carolina because that really, really, really played a factor. I have a hair on my lip. Excuse me. It's bothering me. It's still there.
Only time you should see 14 is if you're looking at a Sam Bradford photo, which we are right there.
Okay, so they had 14 turnovers, but we're still up 7, which, hey, that's great. Should have been up 27. But then the second half comes, and Peyton Verhulst went crazy. She had 9 points in the first minute of the third quarter.
Wow.
Some people don't have 9 points in a game or in a quarter.
Jeez.
9 points in the first minute of the third quarter. She had 35 points by the end of the third quarter, and then she had 38 total. She went 13 for 19 from the field and 6 for 9 from 3.
9 points in the first minute.
Yeah, 9 points in the first minute. That is crazy.
That's a point every
She was
6 point.
on fire.
6
And if you ever
seconds.
watch Peyton Verhulst shoot, it looks just effortless. Like she's not even trying. She's kind of like, meh. And then it was just dropping buckets. She had herself one heck of a game.
Got a retweet you did from
did.
the OU women's basketball team.
Well,
Oh, no,
not
from
me. From like a women's
basketball page,
from a women's
Twitter
sports
page.
Twitter page. Use my tweet, which then was retweeted by basketball.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a da-da-da-da. But it was cool. That girl had herself a night. It was a very fun time to watch her because everything she saw, you truly thought it was going to go in.
Right.
So, man, anytime I see players on fire, I love it because I know how they're feeling.
Yeah.
You literally just feel it. in
Unless if
your
it was Steph
fingertips.
Curry back when he used to play Oklahoma City Thunder all the time.
It's still
Mike
so
Green.
fascinating to see it because it's incredible how you
Yeah.
can just get in a zone like that. And anyways,
Bang!
Now-
And then we get to the Monstars.
now for me to be angry. Women play South Carolina, which, if you follow women's basketball, South Carolina has been a force. They didn't lose a game last year, I believe. Is that just last year? Yes. And won a national championship. They are a dang good team. They're a well-coached team. To have a chance against South Carolina, you have to be almost perfect. You can't have terrible turnovers. You can't have a bad shooting night. You can't be lackadaisical on defense. You have to be almost perfect to compete. I'm not even saying to win.
We did all
To
3 of those
compete.
things.
We did all 3 of those things. So, I kept some stats here because I was, so upset. So, at the end of the first quarter, I believe, we were shooting 20% from the field and 0% from the 3. Not Zeno, 0.
Which
0% from the
Zeno
3.
would probably shoot better from the 3 than 0.
Maybe. The looks were there. They were not hitting it. They couldn't hit anything. Meanwhile, South Carolina was shooting 58 from the field and 68 from the 3. Which, wild.
68% from 3?
From the 3 at that point. And they couldn't miss anything in that first half. And they only had 1 turnover. So they're playing perfect. That is perfection as far as a basketball team is concerned. And it's just, okay, let me see. Hold on.
I just can't believe it. 68% to 0.
Yes, to 0.
That is...
Wild.
I'm just going to say it, and this might be controversial. That's not good.
This is not good at all.
That's just not good basketball from the OU women's team.
No. And it's so frustrating to me because we have the talent. and we have the experience. It's not like we're a young team.
Right.
We were a very experienced, older, quote unquote, team playing, and they were playing sloppy, and it's so lackadaisical. And I'm looking at Ginny B, and I'm just seeing it on her face, and she will even say, like, what are you doing? What was that?
Well, you've said it all year. How good would they be without these turnovers?
They would be dang near impossible to beat if they didn't have turnovers.
They would probably compete with the South Carolina, at least make it competitive.
Right.
Whether or not you would beat them,
Speaking of
obviously.
which, to go along with that, being competitive with South Carolina, OU's turnovers led to 32 points for South Carolina,
gracious.
which was 33% of their final. 1/3 of South Carolina's points came from our turnovers.
Sorry, this made me laugh. I was going to give them for you. That's hilarious.
1/3
of their points came off.
1/3 came off our turnovers. And, I'm fine when, teams are pressing, they're playing really hard defense. Stuff can happen. I'm not saying you have to have 0 turnovers, but so many of our turnovers we cause ourselves. I don't know if they're teaching this, but to pass the ball from one wing to the opposite block among traffic, don't know why we're doing it. Almost every time I saw them make that pass, it's soaring out of bounds. It's not a good angle. It's a low percentage pass. It's insane.
That's weird.
And the same thing, too. We make another cross-court pass across traffic. I mean, it hits her in the hand. She should have caught it. It's not a safe pass. They're not making safe decisions. And I'm all for playing fast. I played on teams that played fast. We were usually smaller, but we were very quick. I'm all for it, but you have to play in control. And that's one thing they don't have is control. You don't have control. You need to slow it down. So they got 32 points off our turnovers. Would you like to know how many points we had off of South Carolina's turnovers?
Well, I'm assuming they didn't have many turnovers, so I'm going to say 15.
2.
Gee.
We had 2 points.
Now, some would say that's 30 more points for them in turnovers. Turnovers.
And that's what I'm saying. We lost by 40. Holy cow. I
can't believe it. 41, didn't we?
More or less. Lost by 40.
People say that as a figure of speech. We literally lost by 40.
We literally lost by 40.
That's crazy. Poor girls.
And we gifted them 32.
Right.
Do the math there, Chad. 40 minus 32.
Let me pull a calculator out. Yeah. 8.
8.
Yeah.
You're in the game. That's
Dylan
a
Gabriel.
Totally different game.
Yeah. You're right.
8 points. It just...
Just giving them 10 points off turnovers is totally... I
think in the first half we gave them 20. I don't know. My notes were written very angrily, so they're kind of all over the place. Yeah. But
y'all should see her when she's watching these games. It's like a sewing machine.
I feel like basketball almost makes me more angry because I did play the sport.
Right. Yeah,
I did
for sure,
play it in college, so it's like I just have that extra level of understanding.
Yeah, no, you see what's going on.
I tell Chad, I will never understand football the way that you or your dad do because I neither played it nor coached it, with the exception of flag football in 4th grade. You get what I'm saying. To me, there's only so much you can truly understand from a game from a watcher, learner, book reading, research perspective. There is the side of it that
there's just an inherent understanding you get by playing it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
From playing it. And it just...
Let me ask you this then, 'cause like you're saying, you played it, and I'm curious. On the turnovers, is it just getting in their head? Because I know like in football, if like quarterbacking, if you throw an interception, you try to not do that again, and it gets in your head, and you can almost throw more because you're being protective.
Because I don't think they're hesitant at all. I think they're just making bad decisions.
Well, that's not good.
I think they just think that making a entry pass to the post from the opposite wing is a good idea among traffic. Among 6 foot girls.
I bet say South Carolina especially because they're fairly tall, right?
Right, but it seems, and there was actually a stat when I was watching. It may have been when they were playing Mississippi State, which they lost and should not have lost again because of turnovers. The stat, I believe, it may have just been SEC play, but that doesn't really matter. Of the opponents we played, 1/3 of their points had come off our turnovers. Take away 1/3 of your opponent's points, we're blowing people out of the water, with the exception of South Carolina. We're just competing with them. And I think I'm disappointed because that was such a good opportunity. It was such a good chance for our girls. That's a good team. That's not even a good team. That's a great team.
Mm-hmm.
That is a legendary team. That is a very, very good team. And you had a great opportunity just to see what you can do. And you didn't do anything. On top of having turnovers, you shot like your eyes were closed. You
shot like your eyes were closed is fantastic.
0% from the 3?
Yeah,
you
literally couldn't do worse.
Now I couldn't do it. Back in my day, give me 10 shots from the 3 with my eyes closed. I'm gonna make one. I'm gonna not be 0%.
Probably make more than one, I'd bet.
But like now, no. Now probably not. Maybe. Can I warm up first?
Yeah.
Anyways, but it just I don't want to come down too hard. I'm still going to watch every game. I support the women.
Well, that's why you're upset, because you support them. Like,
yes,
you know how good they can be.
I'm upset because I know how good they can be. And I know they're not, nobody's going to be more upset than they are at themselves, or Coach Jenny B is at themselves. And I know people get mad anytime you criticize women. You're bringing down women, whatever. No, if I can talk about football and them playing bad, I can talk about women and they playing bad. Equality in sports, and that's it. And I'm a former female athlete. Like, and I'm not saying, it'd be different if I was, I guess, name calling. I'm not name calling. It's just
the smoke doesn't discriminate. You play bad at Oklahoma, you're going to get the smoke.
Okay.
Easy way, and easy way to fix that.
Now he gets aggressive.
Easy way to fix that. Don't play bad.
Okay.
Hey.
Not allowed to have bad games.
Not at Oklahoma.
No, here's my thing. I've told Chad, it's one thing to have a bad game. You're going to be off shooting. As a former shooter, there are days, no matter what I did, the ball just doesn't go in. That's going to happen. What shouldn't happen, though, what you can prevent, is turnovers. Making bad decisions, making bad passes, the same thing, trying to bounce pass it in traffic. That can be avoided. Mm-hmm. And the turnovers are my biggest issue. If we played a relatively clean game and we just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, it is what it is. Shooting game. But when you just gift wrap them 32 points from your own turnovers, it's heartbreaking. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the South Carolina game this year in football. You're beating yourself before you even give you a chance.
What is South Carolina?
Dude, they get OU to turn the ball over.
Oh my gosh. But yes, I hope that they can get it together, because they are so talented. They are experienced. I've said it all in this podcast before, I love JB. I love Coach Jenny. I think she's a fantastic coach. But something's not clicking in the girls with not turning the ball over, or the passing. I don't know, do passing drills and put film on. Is this a good pass or a bad pass? Do Jeopardy style. I don't know. And so you mentioned like it getting into your head. Yes, it can with shooting. If you're in a slump, you get in your head and you're second guessing. With turnovers, to me, maybe in the sense if you're dribbling off your foot type thing, but you can stop yourself from making bad passes. You can analyze and be like, nope, not a good idea. Maybe I shouldn't make this cross-court pass. Or you conscientiously say, I've made this wing to block pass 5 times now, and all 5 times it's either been stolen or soared out of bounds. Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. So there's a difference of like, man, I can't make a free throw right now. I'm gonna Shaq free throw slump, and it gets in your head that way. And that, yes, I understand, but these are 100% avoidable turnovers. And if they could just avoid turnovers, man, watch out for Oklahoma women's basketball, because they would be kicking butts and taking names. And I'm hoping for that. I really am hoping that maybe South Carolina's a wake-up call and they start to be more, just less careless.
What's up, Tattoo? Sorry, 630 people in here. Yeah. Thanks for joining, man. We appreciate it.
But anyways, that was my spill on basketball, gymnastics. And the women play again, I believe, Sunday. And they play... They play Sunday, Georgia. Chad's really excited because all of the Masters commercials have been
it's just the greatest time of the year. You know, like people have debates on the best holiday, day. Masters week is the best time of the year. And I don't know if anyone serious really debates that. I know there are people that have fun. Some people say they don't watch the Masters, which I get. You're doing a bit. You're trying your stand-up routines. They're funny. But everyone really, people know the best week of the year.
Halloween.
You're excited about it.
Halloween.
T's all. We're gonna start with the 2019 Masters. Tiger won. Probably a couple weeks from now. Get a good month cried. In. I teared up a little bit. It's about the journey, the journey he took.
I straight up told him were we engaged then? No, we weren't yet. We were still dating. I said
no, you were still dreaming.
And
I think about that.
If we get married and you don't tear up, either I walk down the aisle or some point.
Well, did you win a green jacket?
During this, no, but you won me. You should cry for that.
There it is. There it is. That's a good line by you. That's a good one.
I was like, if you at least like don't tear up at any point during like our wedding or something, like I'm gonna remember this moment. It'd be different if I didn't see this. If I didn't witness this tearing up over Tiger Woods winning the Masters moment, would not care. Now I'm petty.
I'm also an oak. Like
now
I have,
petty.
you know, I'm a man of gumption. You would say I'm an oak. I don't show emotion. You know, I don't believe in that.
Oh, I cry at everything.
She does. She does. Now, this is something I didn't know she was like when we first dated. I thought she was going to be and nothing wrong with this, but the girls are like, oh, I'm not, I don't cry. I'm not girly, like, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was going to be T. No. She'll see two.
My persona.
She'll legit see like two bugs walking by each other, and she'll just go, they're in love. I'm like, or they're just bugs looking for whatever bugs look for. She's like, no, look, they're together. Or two swans.
That was a cute video.
Two swans found each other. Apparently,
no,
they've been
they
missing.
didn't find each other. The mate.
We don't know that.
The mate was waiting for his mate to be rehabilitated, and they like come flapping their little wings and making little honk sounds at each other. See.
She's getting tearing up right now.
I like animals.
And you got mad at me because I saw a man fight through adversity, through all the world put him through.
I didn't get mad at you.
And he won a Masters
on one knee. I didn't get mad at you at all. I liked that you leaked oil from your robotness. But I was saying you better leak oil on our wedding day.
I really am like someone. I just don't have attachments to things. It's weird. Like if someone could say like, "Hey, your house got hit by a tornado," and I'd be like, "What's next?" It'd feel like someone stole your recycle bin. I'm just like move on to things.
Our apartment flooded.
Oh yeah, this is hilarious.
Flooded, like everything was floating.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. He wakes up, gets into action. First thing he saves is his golf clubs. Forget everything
Straight
else.
on the counter. Yep.
And
I'm
sitting there like with my anxiety, having a panic attack. And I'm trying to like, one, we're trying to save things. Two, we don't know what to do. We were going to go alert our neighbors, but
you couldn't open the door. The door was holding back feet of water. Nuts.
It was pretty wild. And I'm sitting there like we're calling our parents just to kind of let them know. And I'm sitting there like having, like I can't talk through.
She's like
through the hyperventilation. Chad's meanwhile like, T, there's nothing we can do about it. It's flooding. It's like we're in feet of water. Just get your stuff.
So we gotta just put it up.
Just deal with it. The funny thing was it your dad or your mom? I think it was your mom.
Oh, it was my mom. God bless her soul. She's the greatest woman ever.
She goes, well, Chatty, just put some towels down.
She thought a flood, just
like the washing machine was flooding or the dishwasher. Chad goes, Mom, I could put every towel down in Walmart and it wouldn't put a dent in this water. And it was really, this is where we balanced each other out. Mm-hmm. I think I make him see more of like an emotional side or like how other people would be feeling, where he helps me like not panic as much. So in that moment, him saying, T, there's nothing we can do about it. Just say what you can. When the rain stops, we got to, try to find a way to get the water out. This or the other was like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, kind of took me down. I was still very upset, but
yeah. Luckily, we didn't have Zeno at that time because he probably would have. He was like this big as a baby, fit in your little palms. He would have probably drowned, 100%.
Yeah, the water was tall. The water was up to my knees in our apartment. It was insane.
We lived in
I'm not tall, but that's still pretty tall for anybody if your water's up to your knees. It was not.
Do you want me to go get him? Or no?
Yeah. Would you guys like to see Zeno before we sign off? We can bring the real star of the show. Chad didn't want to show you his hiney, I suppose. So it's just me and you guys. What do you want to know about Chad? Nothing? Y'all don't want to know anything? You got about 10 seconds before he comes back. Is this a women's basketball pod? It is the Voice of Oklahoma football pod. However, we will touch on other sports. This is the real star of the show.
This is him. We didn't have anything to film for Xeno Zone, so
we did not. But
we thought we would show you him for real. This is him.
But we did finish with
a
winning record. Oh, he's like, no, thank you.
He likes his mom. See if you can get him to sniff one of the mics. It's kind of funny.
Does anyone want to sniff it?
Xeno, look at
this.
Anyways, sorry we couldn't do a Xeno Zone. There was really nothing to do a Xeno Zone 4, so we kind of just didn't know what to really.
Yes, but we're gonna try to find ways to incorporate the little guy in the off season. Oh, he's sniffing. Can y'all hear it?
You rock tattoo. Thanks, man.
But we're gonna try to find a way to incorporate it in the off season. He did win. He did have a winning record of 19-17.
Yeah, that's actually kind of impressive
He did pretty
considering
good.
he's a
as
dog.
far as the college football playoff win, I think he got two
losses. That's it.
Yeah, 2, maybe 3.
'Cause he picked Notre Dame, so
He missed
and
Indiana.
he missed Indiana.
Missed Notre Dame.
So you gotta
But
chill.
he did good when it came to the playoff. That dog will hunt. He did hunt bunnies in our backyard. But other than that, I don't know how. He wouldn't get you very. It's gotta be like rabbits, ferrets, maybe some birds, because he's a small little guy.
Yeah.
Hold on,
He's
we'll show
awesome.
you the prime beagle.
Now he's a pocket beagle, so he's his sire was Mustang Milo.
That's all of him.
That was his dad, and I don't know what his mom's name was.
I don't either. It wasn't memorable.
Pocket beagles. They now have micro beagles, which were made from breeding pocket beagles and just continually breeding the smaller sizes of them, which would just give me a heart attack. So, because that would when he was a puppy, he could fall into anything because he was so small. One time when I took him to use the restroom outside and he was running, and he looked behind to see if I was there, and he when he ran, he moved his head and he stepped on his ear and just flipped himself over. It was actually really funny, but he was all right. So
Yeah, he doesn't trip on his ears as much anymore. But we just decided you should meet,
you should meet him.
the Smith you really care about. He's like, can I just sit here in peace, guys?
So, all right, 1 hour and 30.
Thank you.
We thank all of y'all for joining again on a Tuesday now. Again, we're usually here Mondays, so next Monday, try to tune in if you can. Please like the video, share. The over/under for Oklahoma wins right now are 7. If you give us your opinion in the comments below, what you think if you think it'll be over or under, and why. We'll go back and try to read some next week, maybe as a segment, just to see what people's thoughts are on the season coming up. So we really, really appreciate all of you watching. I know it might fall on deaf ears sometimes, but we know that you guys are busy and living your own lives, and it truly means a lot that you will take time, and even if you're just listening, to take time to listen to us, because we try to put on a good show, I guess, as much as we know how to, and along with the jobs that we have. So we really, really thank you. God bless you all. Hope all y'all are doing really well, and keep the people in California in your prayers that are dealing with the stuff they're still dealing with too as well. So we will see y'all next Monday, and y'all have a great one as well.